and welcome to my channel, Fred Makes Things, and our, I guess we could call it project review for our cross stitch angel. If you don't know what she is and you've never seen her before on this channel, or you've never come to this channel, hi, welcome. Hang out, think about maybe subscribing if you like what we do here. More about that at the end of the video. But anyway, for the last 5 months or so, we have been working on this lovely cross-stitch angel. She has been our constant on Friday mornings, every single Friday since whatever day is on the screen for you. I believe it was sometime in March, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. But we finished her last Friday with all of the back stitching. I'm going to do this video in a couple of parts to keep myself from rambling. We're going to talk about the initial structure of the angel, what working on her was like. Then we are going to talk about like what I did wrong, and then we're going to talk about my overall thoughts. If you hear banging, pounding, drilling, any of that kind of stuff, my husband is still working on the downstairs wall. He is an electrical engineer. He is not a carpenter. So DIY is not really his thing. So it takes him a while to get stuff finished. As an engineer, he's also a perfectionist. So we'll be hearing banging and sawing and all of that jazz in this video. If I can edit it out, I will, but you will probably hear it. Just that's your little heads up. So let's just get into talking about this lovely angel and what I expected going into her and what kind of happened with it. So she is, if you haven't seen my introduction video, she is an 18 count cross stitch kit. What that means is that you have 18 stitches per inch of fabric. That means that she is small. She is 8 inches by 9 1/4 inches, which works out to being 144 stitches across and 173 stitches down. I laid this out in a grid working in 30 by 30 count sections. Some sections were very small, so they got doubled, and some sections were quite large and took forever. Of course, because I started where they recommended starting right in the center area, I picked the most difficult and longest section. I cannot see my monitor, the thing. Can you even see all of her? She had a bunch of different colors, right? Then they also had you combine some colors to give it even more dimension. And we also used some iridescent thread, which was like so hard to work with, right? It's so shiny. It makes her look so cool. I love how she like shimmers and stuff, but I hated working with it. It was so frustrating. I always left it to the very last part of the section so that I wouldn't mess up or anything like that. I started off here in the very middle with this bouquet bodice and some of her arm in here, and it took me, I want to say, about 15 hours or so to complete. I filmed this as a time lapse, and each minute that you see is equal to about an hour's worth of work, which totals, again, whatever number I have up on the screen for you. It was a lot of work. I worked on her right up until last week when I finished her, and I usually like to work about 3 weeks out. It turned out really beautiful, as you can see. I really enjoyed it. It's cleaner than some of my other cross stitches, right? The back is messy, but not as messy as like my earliest ones that I've done. This is by far my most, my smallest count that I've ever done, as opposed to our Peanuts cross stitch from last year, which was our largest count that I had ever done. So I'm kind of like balancing both sides there. And I think overall she turned out really quite pretty. I do not know if you can still get this kit or not. It was trademarked in 1990 and was gifted to me as part of my local Buy Nothing group on Facebook. Basically what Buy Nothing is, because I haven't talked about them in a while, but Buy Nothing is is usually a local Facebook group in your community where you can exchange things and ask for things that you may need or no longer need. So there's things like, people post things like craft kits, crafting items, books, clothes, toys, baby stuff, sometimes food, especially now that harvests are coming in. There's a lot of like extra cucumbers and zucchinis and like things like that, like things that you have that may go to waste or you may no longer need that you think someone else could use. Furniture is in there, a whole bunch of stuff. I really enjoy it. I give stuff away. I also get stuff in return. And I got this lovely angel and her sister a winter angel. So I decided to make her first. The winter angel will probably be done next week and I will be better at planning it out. I ended up with enough like leftover thread and stuff, so the resources were not scarce. It was nice. The colors were pretty well differentiated. I did have a problem recognizing this dark green and this medium green, but it could have been the lighting I was using, because now in the lighting that I have, I can really tell the difference. But at the time when I was working with it, I couldn't see any kind of difference. So yeah, let's talk about some mistakes that I made. So mistake number one was starting in the middle and making it difficult on myself. Mistake number two is that I stitched the wrong color brown into her hair, so she has some very like 90s kind of two-tone colors going on. Like this darker brown should have been lighter, but I got my colors mixed up. Some of the stitching down in here I miscounted, so when I was stitching I ended up having some mistakes, but as you can see the general shape and stuff is correct, so all of those minor imperfections didn't matter at the end. My second biggest mistake though was this here. If you followed along or you saw me make this, you know that I had these colors reversed actually. I had this dark purple at the top and this flesh color at the bottom, and it always confused me as to why the arm looked funny. You're staring at a photo of it now. And it took me until nearing the bottom of the skirt area to realize that I had stitched the arm wrong. At that time I hadn't realized that I had inverted the colors, but I did know that I had stitched it wrong. I decided to leave it until I was done everything else and before I did the back stitching to fix it. So here's a photo of it all pulled out so you can see the size of section that I had to re-stitch, and then instead of re-stitching it on camera, I just did it myself pretty quickly, and here it is finished. So now it looks like it fits in better and it looks like a hand like it's supposed to be, rather than some weird long flesh colored thing that kind of stood out and made no sense. In the back stitching I did mess up in some areas, like in here and here and some down here and in here. Some of that back stitching is a bit messed up, but overall I don't think you can tell. I think that it looks pretty nice and pretty seamless. And like I stated before, I really hate working with the shimmery metallic threads. They look pretty when they're finished, but they're so hard to work with, and I think that's why like this section here I feel could look better, but I don't think that when you're looking at it overall you can really tell. My favorite part of this whole thing is this like bow and trailing bits. Like this section here I've always really liked, so I'm really happy that it turned out really well, and I'm really happy with how this bottom portion of the skirt turned out too. I think it's all pretty great. But those were the main issues that I had. I also, up in here, miscounted some when I was laying out my back stitching, because I back stitched first and then filled in all of the flowers and stuff, because a lot of the branches and stuff are all just back stitched. So when I was working on this section here, I did have some problems. Like I mentioned, I did 30 by 30 inch squares, but sometimes I expanded them. Like I believe that this was a grouping of 2. This over here was a grouping of 2. And I want to say one more was a grouping of 2, but I can't think of it right now. I don't remember. I stitched all of this first, and then I did this guy on this side. I did this, and then I did these in 3 groupings instead of 6 groupings, just to cut down on some time. When I do the winter angel, I am going to map out my grid first and better, so I will know exactly how many sections that I have, so I have a better idea of how long I need to plan for this. But this was quite large, so I kind of worked with what I had. And I'm very impetuous and get started on things before I fully plan them out. So now let's talk about what I think about this angel. I think she's beautiful. I love her. I'm very happy she's finished. I may keep her. I may post her in the giveaway with the other angel when it's done. When I was gifted the kits, I was also gifted some frames with matting to go in for this to sit inside. So she will be completely finished, and that will be the photo that you see on the in the end screen, so that you have an idea of what she looks like, all nice and done. I don't really care for the back stitching in her arms or on her cape, and something's going on with this that I have to figure out. But I'm not a fan of the back stitching in here, and I'm not a fan of the back stitching here. Like, I don't like the lining of her cape having all of this gold in it, and I don't like them showing the lines on her cape. I may have stitched those in the wrong color. I'm not certain, but I personally don't like it. I do like the stitching in her skirt, and I like it when it gives like dimension and stuff. Like there's back stitching all through here, right? And then her whole like ribbon is all back stitched, and I think that's super, super pretty. And then of course, right, how we did the tree was a lot of back stitching as well. So I'm not against back stitching per se. I just don't like them in the arms, in the sleeves, or in the lining of her cape, or really on this bottom of her cape either. I think it would look cleaner without the back stitching. But yeah, we are going to be seeing her sister, the Winter Angel, probably next year, but better mapped out. I am leaving the large cross-stitch projects alone for this year. You will see some small one-off ones probably in our miscellaneous Mondays, and then there may be like a 4-week one of a stamped cross stitch that we do when we're done our next long-term project before we jump into Christmas, but I'm not sure yet. So yeah, that's the angel. What do you think? Do you like her? Can you see the flaws where I see the flaws, or does she look pretty good to you? I'd be really curious to hear that all down in the description box or in the comments section. If you want to see what else we have going on and you would like to subscribe, Mondays are miscellaneous. Like I think I said already, but I might not have. Next Monday, we're hopefully doing a house update. And then the Monday after that, we'll be launching back into unboxings, hopefully. Wednesdays are our long-term sewing, Wednesdays are our sewing content days. This week we are doing a project revisit video that I filmed slightly differently than usual. I'm not sure if I like it or not. And then on next Wednesday will be an unboxing. I'm just not sure which one, if it's Sewers Club or Stash Builder yet. And then on Fridays, this Friday, we are starting our next long-term project. It's a 9-week paint by number cat project. You heard it here first. Everybody else will be surprised on Friday. I am already 2 sections into that, and it's going quickly and wonderfully, and I'm really, really enjoying myself. That's where this red paint I keep picking at is coming from. So yeah, if you want to see any of that stuff, think about subscribing. New videos every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And yeah, so like the video if you've liked it, and let me know what you think about this lovely angel, and I am going to go. So, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk with you again soon. Bye!